All right, so now that you understand the difference between the function-based views and the class-based views, I'm going to get rid of this little pseudocode that you've written. I just really wanted you to see the difference there and the time savings we have. But let's talk about how we can customize things a little bit. And to introduce this topic, let's look at our models and realize that with our Hall of Fames, we definitely want these to be connected to a user. Like when a user signs into the site, they should go to a dashboard where they can see all of their Hall of Fames. And when they share their Hall of Fames with people, they should say, you know, this Hall of Fame was created by Matt, for instance, right? They want to get some credit for these Hall of Fames that they're creating. So we have to connect the user object to the Hall object. So let's go ahead and add that to our Hall model. We'll say user is equal to, and if we're going to be working with the user class, we've got to import that. So we're going to say from Django.contrib.auth, not Suth, .auth.models, great, and then we want to import the old capital user. Great. So now that we have that in place, we can say user is equal to models foreign key, just like we did down below, but inside of here, this is where we're going to pass the capital user. And again, we want to do a cascade delete because if a user gets removed from our database, we don't want, you know, the halls to continue to exist. It's like, okay, if they want it off of our system, we want all their stuff gone as well. So we're going to say on delete is equal to models dot and in all caps cascade. Excellent. Okay, so we'll save this. Then come to our terminal. Let's do a little Control-C to stop that. We need to create the migration for this. So we're going to say Python manage.py make migration. Oh, it's migrations with an S. There we go. Okay, so it's saying in this situation, you're trying to add a user. This can get really complicated providing a default value with all of this. And my recommendation at this point is just do a Control-C and let's go ahead and actually just get rid of our database because right now it's just our little testing database. So we're going to do remove db.sqlite3. Okay, so that gets rid of the database, and what we're going to do is we're going to move over to our migrations, and we're actually going to delete the first migration that we have here. Just go ahead and delete that, move it to trash, and let's run the command again to make migrations. All right. So we've done that. Now we just need to migrate the database. That's going to make a brand new database for us. Awesome, that's looking good. And let's go ahead and make our super user again. And let's give it the name Nick, no email, Django1234. Later, you're going to learn about how to use seeds for our database so that anytime we wanted to destroy and restart with our database, we can actually do that without having to create a new super user and all that. You'll see about that in just a second. But that looks good, so let's go ahead and run our server. Okay, good. Everything's looking fine there. Let's go ahead and move back to our views.py because we've successfully edited our halls object to say, okay, we need a user. So with that in place, if we go back to our views.py, create hall all of a sudden isn't going to work right for us because we need to specify the user, and there's no way for us to, put inside of one of the fields that we'd want the user. Even if that was the case, that's really not a great way to do that. Like, we just want it to automatically be, okay, if you're logged in and you go to the Hall of Fame /create, right? Just by acknowledging that you're logged in, it should automatically connect that user to creating this object. So with that being the case, you can modify your class-based views with special functions. And for instance, inside of a create view class, it has a special function called form valid. And this is when it's actually going through and making sure the form that's been passed to it is all good to go. And it's saying, okay, this is a good form. Now we're going to create the object. We're now going to insert our custom code rather than just using the default method that they have. And if you'd like to see what those are, you can go check out the Django documentation. They have done a great job of setting that all out. But let's go ahead and add our own here. So we're going to say def form _ valid, Excellent. And we're going to pass 2 parameters in here. The first one is going to be self, and then the next one is going to be the form that we have validated. So with this all in place, or we're going to validate it ourselves, with this all in place, the first thing that we have to do here is go get the user object. So we're going to say form.instance.user. So we're actually going to be adding a user into the form. So we're going to say that is equal to self.request. And then we want to get the user object from that request. That should be a lowercase user. Great. Then we are going to call the super of our class, which is this generic create view. And we're going to say, hey, we want you to validate all this data, make sure that everything's good. So we're going to say super, and in this we're going to say capital create hall, just the name of our class here. And then we're going to specify also self, and we're going to say dot form underscore valid, and we'll pass inside of that our form object. Great. So that'll make sure that everything's in tip-top shape, and now that we've added a user object into that form that we're passing in there, it'll make that object for us, and then we just have to decide where it is that we ultimately want to send our user back to. So ultimately, I think a good idea is to redirect them to another site. Eventually, it'll be good to add them to the add video place so they can instantly start adding things there. But for the meantime, let's just send them like home or something. So we'll go ahead and add up here to our imports after render, do redirect. Excellent. And here we'll just return a redirect to simply a place like home. Okay, so we'll go ahead and save this. Now with this in place, let's go ahead and test it out, make sure that this works. So we're going to have to create a new user. Let's recreate Matt again. Classic password here. Awesome. Oh, passwords didn't match. Okay, Django1234, Django1234. There we go. Let's log in with Matt. You'll actually see here in a second, we're going to make this much easier that when you sign in, it will automatically log in the user and using that form valid thing. And we'll do Django1234, log in. Great. So now let's say Matt is signed in and he wants to create a Hall of Fame. So we're going to do Hall of Fame /create. And with this, we'll give it some sort of title. Let's again do something like cat videos. And we'll create that hall. We get sent back to the home page. And if we go check out our admin, we're going to have to log in as Nick since Matt's not going to be able to see all this glorious grand data. We'll go to our halls here. Click on the one that's created. And look at that, we got cat videos and it's connected with the user Matt. So this is the code, for instance, in a create view function, how you can customize the saving of whatever model it is that you're working with. Now, with all the different views, it's not going to be exactly the same like this. You'll see what I'm talking about as we move forward, but there are some functions that are pretty consistent. For example, getting a proper object. That's going to be the same throughout. So this is probably a good place to stop here, but like I said, we're going to take what we just learned here and we'll actually apply it to our sign up class to make things a little bit easier.